Hey everybody, welcome to Intentional Academy Live, episode 17. 17 hours we've been at this.
Chugging along.
What's the rule about there being 10,000 hours before you're an expert in something?
Yep.
Doesn't.
We're on our way.
How do you get to Carnegie Hall?
Take a left. I'm Tony Farrar, joined by Justin Thomas and Nicole Farrar. We don't have a squeeze button yet.
Excuse me?
Here to help you squeeze every last drop of value out of your Kleenex. Education. We're here to show you how to win through the power of intentional learning, no matter where you are in life. We're going to help you manage your time, get control of your money, and launch your dream career. And that's what we're talking about in this episode mostly, is dream career.
Mhm.
We are in the final week of midterm rehab.
Mhm.
I'm excited to report that it's going well. People have gone through this workshop now and are telling me success stories. We're working on ways to share those, so that's going to be really fun. But just this overarching, the feedback is, holy smokes, I'm back on top of things. Like, this works. So that's really cool.
That's what we want to hear.
That is what we want to hear. And so we're going to take another live episode here tonight to tell you about it and invite you to participate for the last time. When you see us again next week, it'll be too late. It will not be an April Fool's joke.
That's right.
This Saturday, March 31st, the thing goes away forever. So sign up now while you can. By the way, super easy to do that. You can either go to intentionalacademy.com, read all about it there, and they'll give you sign-up instructions, or you can just email directly rehab@intentionalacademy.com, and we will get you connected, signed up, etc. We've got one more person in the hopper right now that I'm going to get added right after the show, so that's really exciting.
Cool.
They're signing up as we speak.
And the website is I just scrolled through our website and now we are back at the page that'll show you where the email is. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get back to all of my other pages because I changed.
It's like, now we are hunting for the end of Justin's sentence.
Exactly.
Nice.
Trying to produce and, interact.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, Ross.
Not easy. Not easy.
Did you catch that?
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah. Tossed salad, scrambled eggs. Frasier references all around. So what we're going to talk about tonight is mostly the career. If you've been watching the last couple of weeks, we've been moving through each of our big areas. Last week was mostly about money, but we did talk a little bit about how it parallels with time. The week before that was all about time. Now we're here. Tonight's career night.
Mhm.
If you're worried because it's almost April and you don't have an internship or a job for this summer, this is the night for you. And even if you aren't worried about those things, this is still the night for you because there's lots of opportunities to learn how to take the next step, because we are in a really tough career environment.
Yes.
Yeah, this is
When
the culmination of all your hard work.
Yes. And it's not so much that unemployment is high or anything like that, but when every job or every seeming job is posted to the web, it's so easy to apply that everyone does. And so it's not unusual for a big company to get 10,000 applications to any job that they post.
Mhm.
And in that kind of environment, it can just be so hard.
Yeah. It's interesting to me because a lot of the advice I feel that we would provide, or that I think other people receive, is almost like going back old school. I mean, my dad just went to places and said, hey, this is why you want to hire me, even if they weren't hiring. That's how they did that then. There wasn't,
Yep, you got a newspaper and you made a phone call or had an address to drop in.
tedious. And, it's like if you knew kind of what you wanted to do and a field you wanted to do it in, you'd familiarize yourself with the local companies. That people weren't traveling as much back then, it was all local. So you kind of familiar with your local real estate, agencies and whatever the business is that you're in, and you just show up and be awesome.
Yeah, now it's a little too easy to generalize yourself by just sort of spreading a large swath of you across the internet to multiple different job sites, multiple different places of employment.
Right.
So you got to make yourself stand out somehow. So hopefully
Right.
we're going to be able to help you, give you some tips of how to do that.
Yeah. And so, it's funny you said that, all the old school stuff, because it turns out that's still kind of true.
That's what I mean. That's what we need to do
Yeah.
still,
The last,
essentially.
yeah. I think what's happened is because it's so easy to just go apply online, everybody assumes it's the only option, right? Sidebar, I'm an engineering professor, and we've got a machine shop, and one of the machines in there is a 3D printer.
Okay.
We've got lathes and mills and all the traditional manufacturing stuff too. Guess how often those get used compared to the 3D printer?
Not very often.
No, never. And oftentimes people will even 3D print things that would have been better manufactured using
A different tool.
the other tools. But because there's this new shiny tool that seems so easy to use, we just assume it's the only way.
Okay.
And so I watch presentation after presentation on why the only way somebody could manufacture this thing is by 3D printing it. And it's just not true. It's like a shaft, which is, something very easy to machine. So anyways, analogy.
Mm-hmm.
The last statistic I read said that 70% of the open jobs in America are not posted on the internet.
That's not surprising.
And it's exactly what you're talking about. It's beating down the door. It used to also, by the way, you reminded me, it used to also be spending lots of money to go to conferences and network at conference and professional events.
That's it. It's networking.
It is.
Old doesn't matter. You have to do it.
What is the old adage? It's not what you know, it's who you know.
That's just true. It's just true. It'll always be true.
Absolutely.
And it's important because that's where you get the most opportunities. And it's actually really cool because of our technology today. You have the opportunity to network a heck of a lot easier than we used to.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can meet people and talk to people all over the world.
And your piece of paper that says I learned X doesn't paint the entire picture of you.
Yep.
So your personality, your not just what you know, but your personality, how you fit into those teams, your physical presence feeds into that person's opinion of you, and whether or not that you're that peg that's going to fit in that particularly shaped hole.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's why Tony's advice that he's been talking about a lot is making an online presence for yourself, because that is a way to be unique in the opinions you share and the news you share. And I'll never forget the one time. I say I'll never forget, and I remember the instance. I can't remember the circumstance, of course, but I think it was when you first started your businessy Twitter, and you had someone from some completely out of the way country comment and want to collaborate on something. I don't remember what it was. But he came home, so he's like, "Oh my gosh, somebody in
You're right.
Ethiopia thinks my research is cool," and was doing something similar. And so that's just crazy, because if you make an online presence for yourself and you talk about the things you're doing or whatever it is, those are opportunities you wouldn't even think to look for.
Yep, and that person was using the same tools we're describing because that's how they found Tony.
Exactly.
And they reached out.
Hashtags and subject lines and whatever it is, and you find, wow, in San Jose, California, this guy's doing similar research. We can collaborate together, and you know what I mean. That's
absolutely
networking,
and it's happening in all the fields. It's super easy to do too. That's the thing.
Yeah,
I used to really be bad at networking because I thought I didn't have the time. And one of the things that we show in midterm rehab is how you can do this with just a couple minutes a day. It actually doesn't take much to build these relationships now, but it shifts the focus. See, what's happening right now with people online is that they're trying more or less to game the system. Out of 10,000 people, pick me. And, and you hear about this crazy stuff like type all the keywords at the bottom of your resume in white so they can't see it, but the computer will scan it and filter you to the top. I mean, this is the way that we get jobs now.
I mean,
And you put all that together and it just makes me crazy. So I think that maybe applying for jobs online, not so great, but networking online is awesome.
Yep.
And untapped. The easiest way to stand out is to do things that the people around you aren't. And if you look around a college classroom, they are all signed up for that really popular professional networking site. I'm not sure I want to give them a
That's
Plug. You know the one I mean. And
Understood.
everybody, what's that?
I said we understand.
yeah.
And everybody uses it the same way as a digital resume. It's a social network. And if you interact on there, you just became the 1%.
Yeah.
That quick.
hmm
And it's crazy what you can do when you start, strategically talking to people on there.
hmm
And we'll show you all the details of that in the workshop. And it all comes back to this mindset of, instead of trying to trick a computer into filtering you to the top of the list, it's about making human connections,
hmm
forming genuine relationships, and then finding a place where you fit so well that you want to be there and they want to have you.
I think that's the most important thing that people overlook. It's not just about getting a job, it's about getting a job that fits you. And if you share yourself and people find you, then you know it'll be a good fit.
Yes.
There's so many people getting jobs through computers and realizing personalities don't mesh. Job descriptions are super vague,
Mhm.
not at all what you
And that's the benefit of like your internships and things like that. I was going to say I utilized career services, and I had a resume at the career services, and it was a random Thursday night. I had no internship lined up and everything in the spring semester. I was kind of starting to freak out, and I got a cold call from a company, and they hired me for the summer.
Just like that.
Just because, and they were, I asked him, I was like, how did you find out about me? He's like, oh, we usually hire from your school for internships, and we found your resume and thought that your experience, matched. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
That is cool.
I got my job in Florida literally because I was walking in and out of the office of our apartment complex chatting with people because I didn't have a job yet. So I was just meeting people and hanging out and, how are you? How are you? And
Mhm.
I said, oh, I'm just printing my resume and looking for more jobs. And they said, oh, well, we're looking for someone. Here's my resume. But then at that point, they already knew me,
Right.
And I know it sounds strange. I don't think people take this into consideration as strongly as they should, but they knew me and they liked me as a person.
Mhm.
And they were like, oh, I could actually work with this person, which is a huge deal. I mean, I'm sure people are working in jobs right now where they can't stand their coworkers. And,
No.
it's not just about experience and resume. It's about, can this person learn or,
Right.
whatever it is, and are they a good fit,
Right.
And we talked about this the other day where Dave Ramsey, correct me if I'm wrong, when he hires people,
Oh man.
they take them out to dinner first before they hire them and make sure that they all get along and
Mhm.
the spouses get along. I mean, it's like this huge
big.
in-depth process because they don't want any turnover, when they consider somebody so strongly to be part of that community. And that's how it should be because
There's an interesting difference there between Dave
You know?
and, I don't know, maybe Gary Vaynerchuk's method of hiring as well.
Yeah, a little bit. So other people do the exact opposite, where they'll hire anybody that moves and pay them nothing until they succeed, basically.
Yeah,
Or
but
just
that's,
or wait for them to fail. And as soon
Right.
as they fail,
Right.
but that's like a learning curve thing, I don't know.
There's a wide range. My theory is that most places, just kind of a little out of sequentialism here, but one of the things that everybody always talks about is, I don't have experience and I have to have experience to get a job, but I can't get a job because I don't have experience.
Somewhat.
There's this
Mostly
cycle, right, of misery there.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things we'll show you how to do is to break that loop. So, come hang out in the midterm rehab and we'll show you the secret there.
Mhm.
But really what it turns out to be is an excuse for a lack of professional skills. If they wanted experts, they'd post mid to expert level job openings.
exactly.
They want people with a foundation that can come in, learn how to do the specific job there,
Mhm.
but in addition to that, fit the rest of the culture. And
Yep.
that's what you're talking about, being someone that they want to work with because you know how to do all the other things. I think the worst word that has been used to describe that stuff is calling them the soft skills.
Mm.
I think that, here's my conspiracy theory for the night. I think that branding, soft skills for things like, leadership and project management and whatnot,
Mhm.
I think that branding was done by universities as a way to try and downplay them because they don't teach it there.
Dun,
One of
dun,
the
dun.
things
Right.
that
We
that
staff these places with subject matter experts that know how to talk about one niche, really specific technical skill, but
Mm,
there's very little out there, in classes about leadership and
Well,
team formation and
feel like those are the things that are more important because it actually works to your advantage in a lot of companies to not know some stuff because they want to teach it their way.
right.
Yep.
Especially if you're looking at an entry level job, they kind of see it as a negative sometimes if you're, and I'm not a science
and
person.
they're not necessarily looking for key relevant experience in that specific subject. They're basically looking for ways that you've proven responsibility and accountability to something other than a grade.
And the ability to learn something.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you say I worked at a job in a manufacturing plant, let's just say you want to be an engineer and that's not your ideal, right? But you said, oh, I was making tires
Yeah.
or whatever the situation.
Somebody knows
Because
how to do that.
I didn't know diddly squat. And I went from
Mhm.
knowing absolutely nothing, to producing the,
Yeah.
most
really-
tires and the best
That,
efficiency,
first off,
whatever.
that really is the story of one of my buddies.
You know what I
You
mean?
know,
And
yeah.
then you can say, I went from nothing to being the best at this thing, regardless of whether that's relevant to the actual specific job. They say, oh, look, they're able to learn this pretty quickly and do it well. What you were saying, your buddy?
Yeah, well, my buddy did that, the tire thing, actually. It's just a funny coincidence that you said
I'm
that.
sure you probably said it to me. And
But it's also my life story.
That's where it's-
I studied jet engines in grad school for 7 years, and my first job out of there was nuclear medicine.
that's true.
Yep. I said I would never deal with software. And right
Mm.
now I'm a software systems engineer.
Does this word agile mean anything to you?
Oh my! Believe me, it's a major thing, and we're definitely employing that.
So, what we want to show you how to do is build that experience base so that you don't find yourself in this, I don't have experience, so I can't get a job, so I can't get a job, so I can't have experience cycle of misery. I want to drive home one more time that it rests upon the fact that you're not actually too busy to do this, which is kind of cool. And then in this very circuitous way, as we work our way up the bullet list today instead of down it, the last one I wanted to talk about for a minute was the fact that it does actually take something other than good grades to get that job. We've been hinting at it, but it's just so true. Good grades might be one measurement of the real thing
That they
it
might
takes.
look at as a consideration for something else.
Right.
Yeah.
What's behind those is what really matters.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, you learned to add value.
Yep.
You learn to take something, work on it for a while, and give it back better than it was.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you're in school. Doesn't matter whether that's observing an event and turning it into a story, taking raw materials and spitting out a car, seeing words and turning them into art as a poem. Whatever it is, there's always a person processing something. It's raw input, person doing something that adds value, turn that into output. And that's what you're in school to learn how to do.
Yeah.
And if your grades are a measurement of that, awesome. Right? That's what we want.
I mean, you want good grades.
But I watch at least one person every semester get stellar grades and do it by playing syllabus math and tricking
not actually learning
the
anything.
rules into do it, and they
Or
can't do any of
Yeah.
it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, proving that you can get grades doesn't mean that a lot of times this isn't always, but a lot of times those people work well by themselves, and that
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily translate to a career field or working in a business.
There are a lot of people in leadership positions that I don't really understand how they got there.
But it's
And
not what you know, it's who you know.
that's a huge part of it, who you know, but also, they end up in these high level positions because they knew people and they excelled in whatever it is that they did in that specific thing individually. And then you put them in charge of a bunch of people and it's horrible. So
The
Watch
government
this.
has the tendency to promote
yeah,
and move
I mean,
them out of that area.
Yeah.
I got a name calling or anything, but I have a family member whose job as a psychologist is to literally train and evaluate people
Yep.
to improve their high level positions like CEO and things like that, because they get to that point
Well,
with not all the skills, let's call it, right?
Right.
And knowing how to
Yeah.
work with people.
yeah. Well, in several places, I've seen somebody that, like you said, Justin, too. They're promoted out of the position they were in, so they would stop harming that position.
No, that's even worse.
It's like, oh, you're really bad at this, but if we move you into a leadership role, you won't be doing it anymore, and that's better.
Not
Ooh,
quite.
okay, how do we reel that one back in?
I don't know, but all I'm thinking about is Jamie and how he's a good leader.
Oh, nice.
Outlander series.
And Diana Gabaldon now is $100. We gotta send her
No,
a
she
bill.
doesn't. I love her.
So,
That's free.
False. 2/3 majority says pay up, lady.
No way. Spread the joy.
The point here, we're talking around this because we really want you to go check out our workshop, where we will give you all the guidance you need.
Yeah.
And the truth with it is, it's about an hour and a half of video. They're broken up into like 10-minute segments.
Mm-hmm.
They've got a workbook that has everything you need. Fill in the blank. Watch this video, then do these 3 things. Then watch this video and do those 3 things. And when you're done,
Mm-hmm.
in the course of a day or two, however long you like to spread this out, you could do it on a Saturday morning and be all the way through it, though.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to feel in control, not just of launching your career, but also of your time, your classes in general,
Mm-hmm.
and that really stressful thing that we all have to deal with called money.
Yep.
Because it turns out that your time, your money, and your career are linked. These are 3 giant areas of your life that are influencing each other every time you step out your front door. And especially as a student, because these are the areas where you experience the most stress and the most pain. I watch this every day. People are freaked out about this stuff and wondering if the tuition they're investing is worth it, and the time and the effort and all this stuff. And that's why we're doing this.
Yep.
We want to give you the tools to live a life on purpose, on your terms.
Mhm.
And so how do you do that?
Click the buttons, send the emails.
rehab@intentionalacademy.com.
All you gotta do, send an email there and we will get you set up.
What is it? You got to say it 3 times. Rehab@intentionalacademy.com.
That's rehab, REHAAB. Wait,
No, just 1 A. Single A. Ladies and gentlemen, PhD.
Unless it's a different kind of rehab.
I love how somehow you guys just underlined in red text the words that I'm saying. REHAB.
Yes.
Very good.
It's written on the bottom of the screen.
Top
I'm
secret.
not spelling bee.
The major was engineering.
It's the second time. I sent somebody to the wrong website in my morning video today too.
Oh, jeez.
Caught myself, but
Well, anyway, Beetlejuice.
rehab@intentionalacademy.com 3 times over. Have we said it 3 times yet?
Yes.
Where
I
should
think
you
we
send an
said
email?
rehab@intentionalacademy.com.
What's that email address?
Apparently, it's rehab@intentionalacademy.com.
Oh. Glad we mentioned it.
Questions, comments, concerns? We got 5 systems that we're going to get you hooked up with. You can go read all about them at intentionalacademy.com. That's what happens if you don't put the word rehab and you just type the intentionalacademy.com part. You get a website with all the details.
Yep.
That right there.
It's out. It's available. But
Limited time only.
and there's a reason for that. Don't worry, we'll have other things soon for you. But right now, this is particularly geared at a quick get in, get out, get back on top of things right now so you can finish this semester in a great place. And so if you want that, you got to do it before it's too late. And so that's why we're going to cut it off, because we don't want you to start this thing too late. So this is your week.
So get on it.
This is
Act now.
I know.
Yeah.
All I see is one of those giant,
Right.
infomercial POW signs.
Yeah, we need Ron Popeil.
Rehab.
You know how many of these Ron Popeil would get people to sign up for? Set it and forget it. Or the ShamWow guy.
Oh, yeah.
OxyClean.
Yes.
You're going to love my rehab.
Right? It's different than other rehabs.
Can we get special effects to be like rehab?
See, now I have Amy Winehouse stuck in my head.
Oh man, now it's in my head. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I dislike you.
I'm enjoying myself just fine.
You don't know that song?
Nope. Ignorance is bliss at the moment.
Oh, I'm
Didn't
gonna
catch
sing
your
it to you
reference?
later.
I'll sing it now for the world.
No, we're good.
Justin
You
knows.
guys, they just missed out.
Justin knows too well. No thanks.
Tell a story about a time this stuff fixed something for us.
By the time this stuff fixed up for us.
Yeah. On the spot.
What was I saying earlier? What was I saying earlier?
You said lots of things earlier, sweetheart.
We have lots of examples for all three of these aspects.
No, I know. I'm just saying I thought of something earlier about networking. Specifically that I had
That you had to go out.
Yes. I went to get counseling because I was looking for a job in the area in which we were living. And there was limited options for my field. It's a small town. And essentially the long and the short of it is that the lady said to me, if you want to get a job at this location in this big industry, you have to go out to she named a bar that has like rooftop socials. And she said, you need to go out to this bar because that's where everybody hangs out and you need to just meet people. I was like, huh? I'm here for job advice. And she's like, yeah, you just have to meet people because if you want to get a job here, the only way that's going to happen is if you know somebody who knows somebody who hears about a job opening that hasn't been posted. I was like, wow. Like she basically was literally telling me I had to change my entire social schedule to network and meet as many people as possible. I mean, that was her career advice. And I was like, okay, well, I'm newly married. See you, Tony. Guess I'm going out drinking by myself.
Weird.
Anyway.
Thankfully, that's not the only way anymore.
It's not the only way, but I just thought that was very interesting that she put such strong emphasis on networking, which was the point of that. I'm not saying go out drinking and meet people.
Well,
I'm just saying, that was her advice in that particular situation, which, we watch Suits and the lawyers and everything. It's always about going out and talking to this person and talking to that person. Yeah. I mean,
and the problem that we run into is as students, that can be really intimidating. But in addition to the intimidation factor, it seems like because we're so busy, we're always doing it too late. And there's no way to not come off like, jeepers, mister, can I come play too? Will you talk to me? Tell me about how you got to your career. And it's like, if that's your opening conversation, nobody wants to talk to you.
Yeah.
What it takes is building a relationship. The post I wrote this morning, one of my favorite quotes is about the worst time to start digging a well is when you realize you're thirsty.
Nice.
The point being, now's the time to build relationships. You're not asking for favors. So that when it gets to the point where you need that leg up, you've got a pool of people who view you as a genuine member of the community. That's what we show you how to do so that you can bypass all of this other stuff and form relationships, be a real part of your professional community. And you can do that now. No experience required.
The other thing I was going to say when you mentioned intimidating is that we are in an area where you can begin by hiding behind your computer. So face-to-face is always really great, and we highly encourage that. But you can, like we mentioned before, start networking via your social presence online, which this newer generation coming up is more comfortable with, and that's a really good place to start, especially if you feel a little overwhelmed and you're not great at face-to-face or you're shy or whatever the situation.
And that's where we started.
That's a huge advantage.
That's where we start you in this program that we're talking about right now, which you can get by emailing rehabintentionalacademy.com.
That's REHAA. No.
Not gonna live that one down for a while.
No, that's cool. Back to school.
I did have a networking example as well.
Yeah.
for the first 6 years of my career, both my wife and I worked at a Navy base in Maryland, and we decided that we wanted to move for Virginia, and my wife was offered a position in Virginia,
Mm.
and having understanding of how the government hiring practices and what they have to do, I knew that since I was a government employee, I could apply to jobs that were not posted publicly
Mm.
because they would not have to hire outside of the government.
Mhm.
So it just so happens that my wife worked with a person whose husband was a branch head. So she literally passed my resume to him, who looked it over and said, "Well, there's this opening right here that would be perfect." And I interviewed with that other branch head, and I was hired. And they didn't. And so that was an understanding of how the job hiring
Mhm.
processes go, and just cold contact.
Yeah,
no,
but
no
cold
online anything.
your connection,
Exactly.
through Stacy, through that person who knows this person, and you know what I mean?
And that's it. Relationship is the thing that causes you to filter to the top of the stack, rather than all these stupid tricks about
AKA and blah blah blah.
white code words and whatnot. I mean, that's real advice. You'll get that if you go to websites.
Yeah, I mean, it's not terrible. That's the way you want to
What
go.
did we do? We were altering the margins in our papers so that it made them longer.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, that takes me back.
Change the font. People got wise to that stuff.
The font size to 11 and the margin spacing to like 1.1.
So I know I always try to add like something random to this. Here's my anti-advice of the day.
Okay.
I saw a tweet the other day. Somebody said, my paper's 648 words long and it's supposed to be 700. What do I do? And somebody wrote back to them and said, switch your font to white and type skip it.
How do they?
And then when it scans it for the word count.
Oh my gosh. That's
anti-advice.
free.
I always hated that because I felt like I was that requirement didn't necessarily change the product I was turning in.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Well, that's the anti-example. Instead, what you want to do is learn how to add value by writing and saying interesting things.
That kind of bugs me too, though, because I feel like as a professor, I would say, write me a paper that gets the point across in a range of 600 to 1,000 words. Because, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you shouldn't write me a paragraph. But if I could, I'm all about being concise. If I can get my point across and explain whatever needs explained in a paper in less words, that would be awesome. So anyway.
I would forever add just like adjective-filled words and phrases after
Yeah, well,
sentences.
it's the writing worse, and then they have to read it. Why would they do that?
Gross. Succinctly saying things like, the worst time to dig a well is when you realize you're thirsty.
Now I'm thirsty.
So instead, email rehab@intentionalacademy.com and we will get you signed up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anything else.
I'm good.
Justin.
Let's get you that dream career.
Yes.
Inspirational.
And until Saturday. After that, all your hopes are dashed. It's over. It goes away forever.
Forget it. You're done.
Tough luck.
Luckily, we'll still be here.
Yeah.
So we can help.
But you can leave a comment or a GIF that says no.
Oh man, that'd be fun.
I love GIFs.
Competition, the best closing GIF that's disappointment. That'd be fun.
Oh, I'm gonna look for one.
Okay.
You know what? We all just agreed of how to pronounce that word, by the way, which is the correct way to pronounce it.
What do you mean?
It's
GIF.
not peanut butter.
It's GIF. It is not GIF.
I know. Aren't you proud of me for saying GIF instead of GIF?
I'm super proud.
Literally, I say GIF constantly. I mess it up all the time. And I think of you. And I think of you and you're in my head and you're going, it's not peanut butter.
Oh my gosh, that would make a really great GIF.
I literally have to backtrack in my brain and I'm like, it's not peanut butter. GIF.
Yep.
Like,
Choosy moms, choose GIF. All right, that's where we
Sure.
find it.
That means Peter Pan owes us $100 or
what?
GIF, but one of the two, we either just smashed a peanut butter brand or advertised for him.
Well, let's get Skippy and end the podcast.
There you go.
Oh my god, you guys are terrible. Ugh. Good
That's
night,
our humor has we're dads now, so that's
Yeah,
where our humor is going.
let's wrap up where we normally wrap up, with is the most important thing. Thank you. If you're watching this, I'm sorry. Thank you for the support. Thank you for being a part of the Intentional Academy community. If this is meaningful for you, the best thing that you can do to further support it is share it with people who need it. And that's why there's all these buttons like and comment, and you can ask us questions and we'll answer them. You can find us on all the social medias. And for another 4 days, you can email rehab@intentionalacademy.com to get plugged into our workshop. It really is great, despite what we might say about it. Thank you, and have a great night.
Yep,
Bye,
have a
everybody.
great night.